Hare Krishna, dear devotees, welcome to our channel. We are still in Radhadesh, and today we have very special guest, Nikunja Vasini Mataji. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
I'm very thankful that you accepted our invitation for this interview. So Nikunja Vasini is a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, and she's from Holland, and she's been living here in Radhadesh since 1980. So Mataji, please tell us your wonderful story, how you joined, how you met Srila Prabhupada maybe. Yeah, please tell us your amazing story.
Well, that's the nice thing about these stories. They're all amazing and they're all special. It doesn't matter how it went, because it was Krishna's hand in the situation and picked us out. I like very much this example of somebody walking by a fence with bushes, and you see all the spider webs and the flies. They're in the spider webs, ready to be eaten by the spider. And then somebody walks by and just picks out one fly and gives him his life. And that's how I felt. I think Krishna did this to us. Somehow or other we were ready to be picked out. It's like that. I find that a good example of causeless mercy. You know, we didn't have any reason why it happened. It's just Prabhupada's mercy picked us up. And
I feel like that also.
Yes, isn't it? And it's nice because then you want to take advantage, because you want to show your gratitude. You want to take advantage of that opportunity we have been given. So, well, I had a few little. So I was living in Breda in Holland, and it's maybe not so surprising because you have Benelux, and it's many times it's seen as one country. You have Holland, Belgium, and Luxembourg, because they're three small countries, and they call it Benelux. So we were, the temple was in Amsterdam at the time. And then when we moved, we just found a place in Belgium.
Yes.
But we were doing Sankirtan in both countries, so it wasn't so surprising. You don't really move so much because the countries are so small. So, but I was living in Breda, being a rebellious hippie. But I was quite young. My brother was my eldest brother. I had two brothers above me, one sister under me. So my two brothers, my eldest brother was the real hippie, and he got in trouble with drugs and with the jail and all those things that happened in those days. But he moved to Amsterdam, and he was living in the squat houses. You know, they have like ruined buildings that nobody's doing anything with. In those days, it was fashion. That if you didn't want to pay for rent, you just go into a building and squat it. And there was somehow a law that as soon as you were living there, they couldn't kick you out. So many people lived there, and sometimes the houses were completely broken, no water, no electricity. But the hippies, they lived there.
So your brother was living
So my brother was living there with his wife. And because the devotees moved into Amsterdam at that time also. 69, I think the first temple opened. 69 in the Bijlmermeer. They just rented a flat. And they started distributing prasadam, going around and cooking and then bringing it to the park, and then distribute prasadam, do kirtan. It was Krishna Maharaj, one of the first devotees that joined in Amsterdam. And so there was only one devotee going around with the pots and cooking and then distributing prasadam. And then they were two, and then little by little they were three, and they were doing like this. So my eldest brother, he joined the kirtan. And he would, so the first time I visited him in Amsterdam, he had this prasadam. It was very special, some milk with nuts in it and cinnamon, and it tasted so amazing because it was offered to Krishna, they said. So when he came to our house in Breda, and he started sticking these little stickers on the typing machine, he would write Hare Krishna, cut it in little strips, and stick it everywhere in the house, in the toilet, in the wherever, and burning incense. And that was so spiritual.
And your parents, how they?
And my mother didn't like the incense so much, but yeah, I mean, you know how parents are. They're happy the kids come to the house every now and then, so they can do what they want. And he was sticking the stickers. So then my second brother, he went to stay over. I think he finished his exams, everything was finished, his school, secondary school, and he went to stay in Amsterdam for the holidays with my elder brother. It was his elder brother, and then he joined the temple.
Wow.
And the temple at that time was in Betanienstraat. It was actually in the middle of the red light district. I don't know if that's a known thing.
Yes.
All the ladies,
yes.
They are gathering there, have their little spots. And the temple was in the middle.
Wow.
And it was an old garage where they fix cars. And, and it was Surabhi Maharaj who actually fixed that before he also joined at that time with his brother, also joined, 2 brothers. I remember one of his brothers, he came by our commune in Breda, and he said he was going to become a monk.
Wow.
And we thought, wow, he's going to shave, he had this nice long hair, and he was going to shave it off, and then he actually did join, and my brother also joined.
Wow.
So then they started cultivating, right? That's what devotees do. And I didn't notice that at all. He would come and visit many times. And I was doing little odd jobs. I was still finishing my studies. And I had moved out of my parents' house.
How old were you?
I was 19, I think. 19.
19.
In those days, you didn't stay at home. That wasn't done. As soon as you would be a little mature, then you would move out.
Interesting.
Now the children, they stay longer. They stay as long as. But yeah, we have to work. Then you have to work and pay your rent, and you know, like that. So I had a little place in the same city, and how did it go? So my brother would come and visit a lot, and I was training for a teacher for small children, and I was looking for a job because I nearly finished the studies. And it was the Rudolf Steiner school that I was attracted to. So I had a job interview. So I went to my parents' house, and my brother was there visiting.
And this is the
second brother.
The second brother.
Yeah, a devotee.
Yes.
Shaved up in his orange clothes, everything.
Wow.
You know, visiting. Nice. Yeah. So then my father, he didn't want to leave the room, because he didn't want him to influence me to go and live in the temple. And so he was walking around and then cleaning up a little bit, and he was hanging around. And he said, you know, it's time for bed, it's time for bed, it's time for bed. I said, yeah, no, if you're tired, you go to bed.
You're grown-up children, so...
We were not even living at home anymore.
Yes.
But you know, he hang around a little bit more. Because next day I had my interview.
Okay.
And so my brother was saying, I said, well, I'm going to be teacher. And I know this, I like this Hare Krishna. And I was even offering my food, because he would come to my house or my room. And then he would, whatever I prepared, vegetarian. I was learning to make chapati and, you know, a few things.
Nice.
Onion soup, I remember.
Onion soup?
I didn't know that was not allowed. But anyway, then he would offer it, and he had a thread, because he had Brahmin initiation. So he wrapped a thread around his finger, and he would offer the food. And I said, that's how you do it. So I took a thread from the incense pack. You know, there's also threads around it. So I wrapped it around my finger. And I said, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So I offered the food.
So sweet.
I did a Christmas dinner, a vegetarian Christmas dinner for my parents, and I offered the food all with my Brahmin threads. But anyway, so we were at home then, and my brother said, okay, you know, what you're going to teach these children then? I said, well, I knew that what he wanted to hear. I said, well, I can teach them to chant Hare Krishna. And he said, yeah, but then you're being a hypocrite, because you're not doing it yourself, and you're teaching something that you don't know how to do, or that you don't.
Yeah.
Because in those days it wasn't, you can be Krishna conscious at home. You have to join the temple, otherwise it's not possible.
Wow, interesting place.
Yeah, it wasn't, if you are living outside, you're not a devotee.
You're in Maya.
Yeah, or you're blooped.
Okay.
In those days you call it bloop. Bloop. Under the water.
Okay. You're blooped.
I think Prabhupada started that actually. Somebody left the temple, or maybe some of the devotees started that saying. But in the old days, if somebody left the temple to live outside or for whatever reason, then he was blooped. And it's that sound that you get when you go under the water.
Yes,
bloop, gone.
Yeah. I understand.
And so then I said, then I should first be a devotee. So I went to the next day. I went to the job interview, and I told them that actually I want to be a teacher, but I'm not ready. I first want to develop my spiritual education, and then when I'm ready, then I can be a better teacher, because now I cannot teach them something that I didn't learn myself.
Oh, you were so honest.
And they were so impressed by it that even later, I didn't get that letter, because it went to my parents' house. But they said, there's a letter for you. And they said, anytime when you are able to do your job, then you can have your job here.
Oh, amazing.
So they were, and it's the Rudolf Steiner. It's a little bit, a little more mode of goodness kind of teaching. Mm-hmm. So then I came back so he said, you got your job, my father. I said, no, I rejected it. I want to go live in a temple.
Oh my God. And your father was
he was
heartbroken.
He was heartbroken. And then, of course, I was living in my home, and it did take a little while. But then Prabhupada came to visit in 1872.
Okay.
Prabhupada came to visit, so maybe that period was maybe 70, 71, and that I rejected my job, and I was still finishing my studies and staying at my house. And then, of course, friends come by, and then they were not allowed to smoke. They were not allowed to drink in my house. So little by little, they were not coming anymore. And they would come, and I would show them the Krishna book, because my brother I was buying the books. And little by little, I had this little bookshelf, and I was reading at the time the Lord of the Rings. Oh. That was in those days, like the spiritual book. Oh. And it was quite amazing for our understanding. Wow, you can invent such a story. It's amazing. And I said, okay, as soon as I finish the Lord of the Rings, then I will start reading the books. But they were all in English. Oh. It was not so easy. Yes. Even the Krishna book, I opened it and I couldn't understand anything. But I always kept it with me. There was a trilogy. Mm-hmm. So wherever I would go, I always had these little books with me that were spiritual books. Nice. But so then he was bringing more and more books, because he was a Sankirtan leader. Oh. And whatever they collected after 6, half of that they could keep to collect for a ticket to India. Oh. So then he would always come to my house after 6. And it was very special, because I had a little money box on the so-called makeshift altar. I made a little altar, and I had Lord Chaitanya as my main deity. Mm-hmm. Because he had told me that if you cannot approach Krishna only through Lord Chaitanya. If you don't accept Lord Chaitanya, you cannot approach Krishna. And I thought, well, Lord Chaitanya is much easier to approach, because he's golden, he has this beautiful long hair, and Krishna is blue, and I couldn't, with a flute, I couldn't, so I put all my love in Lord Chaitanya. Oh. No problem. Yeah. And then I had the money box there, and it was very funny, because I did very small jobs, some toilet cleaning, some washing up, little things. And there was always money every time he would come, and he'd come like a few days a week. And every time I opened that little box, there was always money in it. And I don't know how that worked. Wow. It was like magic, and I didn't realize it till later. I said, wow, it was really Lakshmi putting. So every time I could give him something, so then he would bring books, posters, cassettes, tapes. I think it was cassettes at that time. Yeah, so I would listen to Prabhupada's lectures.
Wow.
I couldn't understand anything, but he said it doesn't matter because if you hear Prabhupada's voice, then this is purifying. So I was sitting being purified, and my friends, they stopped coming. And then my brother was saying, so what are you doing here? You're just sitting in the window waiting for some friends to come by, but they were not coming anymore. And then he said, okay, Prabhupada was coming, and you should come, and just a moment of association with a pure devotee, it will change your life. So I went with my parents. They also came to the Betanian Straat. It was like a garage, maybe this size, but a little longer. They had made it beautiful with all the arches for the altar, and they were going to install Jagannath at that time. But we were a guest. The television was there also. They had their big lamps on the scene, and so it was hot, and there was so many people inside. So we were all standing there like little sardines in a can, and sweating. And then Prabhupada came, and they had a little stage. Basically, maybe it was just in front of the altar, and nothing was organized. And I didn't know that, of course, but I saw Prabhupada not happy at all. He was angry. He was telling, what's this and this and this. And these devotees, they were practically crawling to get these things that Prabhupada was asking for. And then later it might be interesting to read this book, Prabhupada in Germany. And there is one chapter of Srila Prabhupada in Amsterdam. It's called the Amsterdam Mess.
I think I've heard about that. There was a yagya, maybe?
Yeah, a fire yagya.
And nothing was there.
No. And then Prabhupada said, we need fruits. There has to be fruits. And then Kishori, Prabhupada's disciple Kishori, she ran and made a fruit salad. And she came with a big bowl of fruit salad. And the Prabhupada said, no, but it has to be unbroken fruit, to put around the yagya. And there was no cloth to put around the deities, because they have to be covered. And they got sheets from the neighbors, which the neighbors were from the red light district, right?
Oh, goodness. Wow.
And the pots from some hotel, pots to bathe the deities in. There was no outfit for the deities to wear for after. So some Astarata, one of the German devotees, they had just come from Paris, because Prabhupada was in Paris. Now they were traveling to Amsterdam. And so overnight, he sewed some outfit for the deities.
Overnight, okay.
Overnight. But he was staying in I don't know, was it maybe one sewing machine or something in Kishori's room. But of course, all those things I didn't know. I was oblivious, but I saw it was serious business. And I thought, well, I can see this is real spiritual life. Because we had many gurus at the time. And there was one Guru Maharaji, and my first brother, eldest, he had already moved on, because, with Krishna consciousness, you cannot take drugs, you cannot do all these things that he was habituated to do. So he had joined the Guru Maharajis, because what he does, the Guru or he just presses your inner eye, he opens the inner eye, and then you can see the light. And then you don't have to follow any principles. You can just live your life the way you want, but you are enlightened.
Crazy.
And so then, and my second brother, he said, yeah, if you do that, you will become blinded and you will not be able to see Krishna. And that made sense to me. So then I thought, okay, this is much more serious than I could see. But I thought, not for me, maybe my next life, which I understood by then that there is a next life. Because I want to enjoy. And it's funny that I said that, because in my material life, I was so miserable. I tried so hard to enjoy, because that's when you're a teenager, that's when you want to enjoy. And I tried them all the different things, and I was just becoming more and more miserable, that I thought, actually, maybe it is completely wrong to look for happiness. It's not meant to be, which is a depressing idea, because this is what everyone is aiming for.
Yes,
right?
When you don't have Krishna consciousness, it's very depressing.
18 years old, and you already think that happiness doesn't exist. So I did only realize that after also. But then so I thought, no, I will do this my next life. So I went home and continued a little bit chanting, but mixing with other things. Mm-hmm. And then and listening to Prabhupada. And also my brother gave me a picture of Srila Prabhupada, and I put it in the pocket of my jacket. Mm-hmm. Because I wanted to respect my brother. I was very good, we had really good relationship, we were very close. So whatever he was doing, actually that was the right thing to do. I felt that. Mm-hmm. I just didn't feel ready. But I had that picture in my inside pocket, just exactly in the heart. Which also, just happened without me doing that consciously. So I was having a picture and I was listening to Prabhupada. And then whenever I would pass the town, the center of the town, I would see the Sankirtan devotees there. Oh. And I would think I would run and get some saffron roses to buy saffron, because all the brahmacharis, they were wearing saffron. So I thought, oh, they must like that color. So I started looking for roses, and I would bring it. He said, this is for Krishna. So I was doing my little service like that. And then one point they moved from Amsterdam, from the Betanienstraat, they moved to the Herengracht. There was a more beautiful building, mm-hmm. nice building, was a hat shop before. Mm-hmm. So it had everything nicely taken care of. Mm-hmm. But also rented place. And then my brother invited me to come and help mm-hmm. for the moving. Yes. And so I organized, I went with my friend, she also had to go to Amsterdam for another reason. And then I got there. First we went out in the evening, have a party and do all the things you're not supposed to be doing. And I said, tomorrow I'm going to the temple. And then, I even met an Indian boy. I was thinking, wow, he's a boy from India. I thought they're so spiritual. There was nothing spiritual about it. So it was even hard. I said, so I said, oh, you come with me. Maybe we can. So we passed by the temple. The door was open and it was all dark inside. And I was, I said, maybe we can do another block. We walk around the block one more time. Finish my cigarette, go out. And we walked around the block. And then I said, come with me. I'm scared. And she said, no. I said, you wanted to join the temple. You wanted to go. And so we were up the steps. And then she gave me a big push, like this. And I was inside the temple. And I said, And then somebody called from the up. They said, Anga's sister, because that was the name of my brother. He passed on now. Mm-hmm. Anga. He said, Anga's sister has come. So, I was noticed.
No chance for escape.
I couldn't escape anymore. We had actually already once we did that. I went with my friend in the Betanienstraat. After the Sunday feast, they all left. They all went up to there's a ceiling, and the Brahmachari ashram was a ceiling. Mm-hmm. And then they said, you can do some devotional service. And they had these huge pots mm-hmm. and one tap, cold water. And we could, with the two of us, we had to wash all the pots. Mm-hmm. And everybody was gone, and we were, what is this? So we washed 2 or 3 pots, and they said, come on, we squeeze out and we run away. But this time it wasn't possible. So I was there, and then the temple president called me in, and he said, okay, you can stay for 1 week. Mm. And after you decide if you want to stay or not. And I said, I just came to help a little bit. I mean, that wasn't in my mind at all.
But maybe your brother arranged.
Well, because you know how devotees go. They, I'm cultivating my sister. Yeah. She's starting to offer her food. She's chanting a little bit. And, later you think, that's how it went. But then after the first Mangalarti, there was a Esther Gosti on Sunday. And they discussed all the rules, from Nectar of Devotion, the 64 the items of devotional service. Yes. And they discussed all of them, and this is not allowed, and that's all. So after one class, I thought, wow, I know everything now. Mm-hmm. And I thought, okay, no more daydreaming, no, these other things I understood. falling in love, I had a hard time with, because I used to fall in love very easily. So I thought, oh, that's not allowed. You're not allowed to fall in love. So I thought, well, that's going to be hard. But anyway, that's one of the reasons, for example, that I thought, oh, I should better not join, because I will just disturb the boys. Because there was not so many girls at the time also, 2 or 3. But we had our little ashram there, and I was so enthusiastic and became so enthusiastic. I thought I never, after that first, I thought I'd never been anywhere else. I just completely fell at home. Yes, I came home, and I had made a special dress actually, because I thought you have to wear long dresses. But of course that was not allowed. They gave me a sari, put it in those days. So I used it as a night dress. But so we're wearing saris, and the saris, they came from England. There was the rejects. They got saris from the Indian community, and then whatever they didn't use, they sent it to Amsterdam, which was horrible saris with big holes like this, because they were nylon, and if you do something hot falls on it, it just becomes a big hole. So it was quite poor, and that was the reason why I thought I should go back home, because I knew how to sew. A sewing machine. Yes, I thought I'd make myself some petticoats and some blouses, and then. So then after 1 week, I really didn't think of going home at all. And I mean, I wanted to join. I had decided to join, so I came to the temple president's office. It was like a long office, and he had his desk there. He was sitting behind it was Tulsidas, big American brahmachari also, sitting there. And so he said, so you decided? I said, yeah, I would like to join the temple. Oh, he said, but I said, I need to go home, arrange my room, because I have to pay my rent and give up the room, and there's a contract and this and that, empty it. And I thought prepare some things. He said, so how long you will think how that will take? And I said, well, 3 months maybe. I thought, to do it properly, go to the market, buy some cloth, and and then he said 3 months. He said, you're not going anywhere. And I said, oh. And I looked at him and I said, okay. And I said, okay. And I went out of the office, and I said, wait a minute. Who am I now? Because in those days there was really the thing. Whatever authority would say, you would do the opposite. So I was like this. You never listen to authority, right? That was in
the hippie times.
The hippie time is you are anti-authoritarian, so you are against authorities. And this time he just says, no, you're not going anywhere. And I just walked out. It's okay, then I'm not going anywhere. And I thought, what's wrong with me? And then I think next day he called me in again with my brother. And he said, okay, you can go for 1 day. You leave after breakfast, and you have to be back before 10. and then your brother is coming with you. So there was no way that I could get distracted. No way. Because that's what happens, right? When Maya sees she's losing someone, she'll bring all the distractions. Yeah, and that's what surely would have happened. Surely would have happened. All my friends. I thought I'll say goodbye to all my friends and say what I'm going to do. And actually later I heard my friends, they just thought I had gone crazy. Oh, she was a nice girl, but she's gone crazy. To join the Hare Krishna temple. So it was good. It was a good arrangement. We went, we bought a suitcase and whatever things we could use in Krishna consciousness, like I had a tape recorder and those things. Only spoons, forks and knives were not necessary. I didn't have much. I had a bike. We also took that somehow. And some clothes. Only the Krishna conscious books, the rest. But, what to do with the room? Yeah. It was just newly painted. I only started living there a few months before. And I think there was rent to pay due. And we went to my parents' house. We left the key there. We said to, I'm going to join the temple. Gave the key to my father, and he had to take care of everything.
Wow.
Pay the rent, empty the room that he just helped me, set up.
Yes.
So that was not very nice. And he was very upset about it.
Mm-hmm.
But somehow or other we didn't care too much for our parents. And so I joined the temple. And then all the books that I bought, they had to be given back because they couldn't be distributed again. And the tape recorder became Krishna's property, of course, and I think it was stolen within 2 weeks.
Oh.
Because they left it unprotected. Amsterdam, it's coming in, going out, so it was stolen.
So.
And I joined the temple, and I was wearing whatever clothes there was. And sometimes I was dressed so badly that I wasn't allowed to go on Haina.
Oh,
I came down in my best dress. I would put the sari in such a way that the holes would fall in the pleats like this, and I put this over it. And I came down ready for Harina. And they said, no, you can't come like this. You're not dressed properly.
Wow. These are amazing times. I mean, we cannot imagine now.
Yeah.
It's so easy to buy a sari and everything is so easy, but because of you, actually. Because the people who joined in the beginning.
Yeah. I mean, we did work hard, and the thing is, it fitted our generation also, this poverty. We were sleeping on the floor. I remember sleeping on the floor, and I slept with my sleeping bag open because I didn't want to be so comfortable that I wouldn't wake up in the morning. So in the morning you wake up from the cold because it's cold. And I was up before everyone else, but the advantage was that because we take cold showers, right? We take cold showers, there was no heat, no hot water. But the water from the heating system was going through the pipes. And so the first water was warm.
Oh, okay.
And nobody knew that, but I got up so early because I wanted to, I was so enthusiastic to chant. I couldn't believe that I had lived another life before. I was chanting, jumping and chanting so loud that all the devotees, they left the temple room and they never stopped me from chanting. And then I looked around, I said, what is this? Everybody's in Maya, where did they all go? And then my brother said, is it because you're chanting so loud, so everybody goes to chant somewhere else? But then, so I was up early, but then if you would take your first shower, the water from the heating system, it would be a little warm.
Okay.
So that was good. I had and then I would wake up the head pujari who would wake the deities.
Wow.
And she had red hair and long hair. So I had to plait her 2 braids.
Okay.
Or 2, sometimes 1, whatever. And then she could go wake the deities.
Nice.
And then sometimes, if it was not tight enough, she would call me out of the temple room during Mangalarti, because then somebody else would do the arti, or right after, she'd call me out, just not tight enough, and I have to redo her plaits again.
Oh, wow. So this was also your service?
That was my service, yeah. But then, sometimes I had finished my rounds by the time that the others were waking up. So that was nice, because I didn't understand that after morning program, you can still chant. And then sometimes I didn't manage to finish 16, so I would just keep them on my beads. I count them because I thought I wanted to finish them. And then when I had to go shopping to buy flowers for the deities, for example, then I would chant my extra rounds. Nice. And later I found out, you can chant all day long if you want. So little things like this. But there was a nice experience that I wanted to share also. Is after 3 months, I think I was in the temple for 3 months. And then we were going on a preaching program. And we went to visit our school. We would have a program there, distribute popcorn, do a kirtan, a little lecture. And so I was allowed to go with a few other devotees. And we went to the school, and in the down level, the aula, they call it.
Uh-huh.
You know,
yes,
like
aula, yes.
yeah, it's
Same
a word.
as Bulgarian.
Same. Okay. So then, but in the school there was no smoking areas in the classrooms, but down you could smoke. The kids could. I mean, they're a little bit grown up, 18, 19. So they were all there. And then I saw them smoking. And I thought, oh my God, what are they doing? They're inhaling fire. Because when you breathe in, it comes hot, red.
Yes.
And I thought they're inhaling fire. And I couldn't understand. Wow, I couldn't even imagine that I ever had done this before. And that was 3 months after.
Yes.
So, the whole life changed so much.
Yes.
And you click into your old level of, I don't know if you heard the class this morning, somebody was asking, what if you didn't make it this life, will you retain? And that's exact experience I had, that I just went back to my previous level of devotional service.
Wow.
And because I couldn't imagine. And then they told me, oh, it must be difficult for you because you see us all smoking and you're not allowed to do it. I said, no, never, ever going to do that again. I can't even imagine having done this. So it was really like a whole switch for me. That was an amazing experience. And, then basically in those days, Prabhupada was visiting. I remember there was an initiation. I think I was a devotee for 2 months or 3 months. And there was, in those days, they wouldn't tell you that you would get initiated. Just before the yagya, then they say, oh, you will get initiated, you. And so then you quickly take a shower, put clean clothes, and you get to be initiated. And because the letters came late or whatever, it was, this time it was a initiation by letter. And so I was so convinced that it would be me to be chosen to be initiated. It was so clear. And then the temple president, he figured it out. He said, yeah, I know you are very Brahminical, he said, but you have to wait at least 6 months to get initiated. So I didn't get initiated then. But then in June, Prabhupada came to Germany. And we all got to go. And then we would get initiated. Vasutama, he was here also.
So he was present, Prabhupada.
Prabhupada was present in Slotsrettershof when I got initiated. But then they actually forgot to put me on the list. Somehow, because we had a new temple president just before, and he was always calling me Nanda Devi.
Nanda Devi.
And my Western name is Nanya. And he was calling me Nanda Devi. So I thought he's just, like complimenting me, or I didn't realize that he actually thought I was already initiated. So then when I got there, we had 50 devotees, a big circle around Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada's Vyasasan there, and big circle around, so with Prabhupada. And Prabhupada was very strict at that initiation. And we all had a little plate, and neck beads on it, and banana. And I couldn't really find my place. There was no one to guide me. So I found a little plate, and I took a banana from another plate, and some neck beads from another. And I just sat down. And I thought, wow, I'm going to get initiated, so I'm ready.
You were determined.
And then they said to put the neck beads on, but somebody else does that, right? You cannot do it yourself. So there was somebody, a blooped devotee from Amsterdam, and he saw me there without any guidance. So he put my neck beads on. And so I thought I was perfectly fine. And I didn't realize that they do by city. So Amsterdam, the A, is first.
Okay.
And so Vasutama probably got initiated, but I was just absorbed in worrying about if I could pronounce the principles properly and all that. So I was practicing, and I was looking at Prabhupada what he wanted. He wanted us to pay dandavats, but not straight to Prabhupada with our face and then feet like this. Also not rectangular like we do like this, horizontal. Not like that, but diagonal. And not from this side, but from east to south, I guess, like that. So then Prabhupada's Vyasasan would be straight, and then we would pay our dandavats like this. And everyone, girls, boys, there was no difference. And so
Full dandavat.
Full dandavat. Yeah, full dandavats. There wasn't. We didn't do any other. Everybody was always paying full dandavats. Then you would say the regulator principles, but they had to be very complete. Like, so no intoxication means no cigarettes, no coffee, no tea, no meat eating, no eggs. And there's another, fish, eggs, I think, yeah, fish and eggs.
Mushrooms.
And mushroom, no, it wasn't it. But no mental speculation or frivolous sports.
Frivolous sports?
So gambling. So gambling, mental speculation, and frivolous sports. They were in one thing. So Prabhupada wanted us to say all these things.
Wow, interesting.
Not just no meat eating and no illicit sex and no gambling. Finished. There's one more.
Intoxication.
Intoxication. No, intoxication, no cooking, no tea, no coffee, no cigarettes. I think that was in the intoxication. So I was practicing, and I didn't notice that they didn't call me. And then finally, that same Bloop devotee, he realized, oh, she's not being called, and she's sitting there waiting. So he went to Satsarup Maharaj, the servant, and they somehow figured it out. And so I was called last. But by then, because Prabhupada, sometimes he sent somebody back. That they didn't do it properly, or they had to start again and didn't do it properly. We have to also say that we chant at least 16 good rounds. So not 16 rounds, no, at least, at minimum, 16 good rounds every day for the rest of our lives. So, I was ready, more or less. And then finally they called me, and I came up, I paid my dandavats right in the right direction. I sat up, Prabhupada was smiling. I had made a bead bag for Prabhupada, meanwhile, in the temple already by hand. It was like, So I wanted to give that to Prabhupada. He said, no, give it to Satsarup Maharaj, so I gave it to him. And I said my regulator principles and the chanting of 16 good rounds every day, minimum 16 good rounds every day. And then he said, your name is Nikunja Vasini. This is a very nice name. It's a gopi. And I thought, wow. He said, I waited all this time. And I got the best name. Because he had not said that to anyone this is a very nice name. So I was initiated. And I was so happy. And we went around the fire. Prabhupada went inside and we went around the fire. There's some videos about that from that also in Germany. I have a nice picture of Prabhupada giving me my beads.
Okay. I would like to see that picture.
Yeah. I found that only 20 years later in the Vyasa Puja book.
Wow. Okay.
But it was there. It was nice. It was a nice gift. I was in Hungary for Vyasa Puja for a change, because normally we'd never leave the temple on special days. That's not done. But I was in Hungary with my kid, my daughter, and Shamalika from the bakery. And then somebody next to me, she said, oh, it looks like you in this photo. I said, no, it can't be. And I closed it. And I saw in the corner that the color of the Vyasasam, because we had brought our Vyasasam from Amsterdam to Schloss Rettershof, because they didn't have a Vyasasam yet. So I saw it, maybe. So I opened it again. It was me, looking at Srila Prabhupada. And I remember they had told us we cannot look the spiritual master in the eyes. It's not proper. You have to look at the feet. But I was in front and I thought, this may be my only chance to look at Prabhupada. So I looked up and I saw Prabhupada. He looked quite stern and he gave me my beads. And exactly that time, when Prabhupada was holding the beads and I'm holding the beads, somebody made a picture. Amazing. And I'm looking at Prabhupada like this very stealthily, But anyway, so then it was the funny thing about it was that I completely forgotten my name. Because Nikunja Vasini. So they said, oh, you got initiated? I said, yeah. I said, what's your name? I said, I don't know. But it's a gopi and it's a very nice name. And I think about two or 3 days later, I found a list
Okay.
in the hallway with all the names of the different devotees that got initiated. So I copied it, and then I got to practice saying my name.
Nice.
So
Beautiful
basically,
story. So then you stayed in the temple for some time.
yeah, I became 21 in June, beginning of June, and then I was initiated 16th of June, and then I got married in August of September that same year.
Oh, the same year?
Yes,
You got
everything same year, and then the Brahmin initiation in November or December.
Wow.
December.
Amazing
Everything
year for you.
all in one go. And then actually Prabhupada had said, no, you are going too fast. He had sent a letter. He said, no Brahmin initiation for this batch of devotees. You're going too fast. But we wanted to install more deities. We only had Jagannath at the time.
Oh, without Baladev and Subhadra?
No, Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra.
Okay.
And Prabhupada installed them in 72. But we didn't have Gaunitai or Radha Gopinath yet. That was
But these
74.
are Jagannath, Baladev and Subhadra?
Yes, same.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. Never got replaced. They're still perfectly fine. They need a touch-up every now and then.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. But then, then Prabhupada started installing this Brahmin test. The Brahmins, to be able to take Brahmin initiation, you had to do a test. And then that time, it was 10 questions. Who are you? What is the position of the spiritual master? Who is Krishna? Very, very simple questions. And if you didn't pass, then you could still get Brahmin initiation. So it was just like a formality. So instead of October, we took Brahmin initiation in November, basically.
Okay.
It wasn't that much difference. And then we got to go practice on the altar a little bit. Because, we only had one set of deities. So there was plenty of pujaris. We got to dress the conch shell sometimes, or the cows. Or clean, or change the candle, like that. Those few little things. And then I was married, and then Malati came, and she started first my husband was in charge of the Sankirtan, and he had a bus going out during the week with brahmacharis. And one point he decided that also the girls could come. So we also went, and the boys, they would sleep outside in the forest and take part in the river, and then the girls would sleep inside, and we would go book distribution. It wasn't my favorite activity. It was very hard for me. But then Malati came from Prabhupada's Malati from England, and she started the girls' Sankirtan party, and then I went with her, which was even more austere. I had to take care of, because I was the youngest one. They were more advanced, and so I had to cook and then serve them and then clean up. And by the time there was no time to cook, or no, to eat. And so then they said, okay, now we're going out, and then they dropped you off in a village with a bunch of books in a petrol station. And I had,
you had to do all this service and then book distribution.
And book distribution alone. It was so hard for me. I was too shy to, go door to door, find people and approach them. So I think once I had to send the scores to my husband by phone. There's book scores from the day before. And he said, so how are you doing? I said, it's very hard. I don't get to eat and I have to do all these things. And so I was complaining and lamenting. And then he said, okay, just take the train and come back.
Oh, nice.
So anyway, that was my Sankirtan.
Okay.
Then soon after I became pregnant. And in those days, the rule was that if you're pregnant, you can do what you want.
Okay.
You shouldn't be forced to do anything.
But you're married and still living in the temple?
No.
You're
No. I mean, okay, you could still be a grihasta if you come every day to the Mangalarti, and you leave at 10. So we were living in the temple, but we could not sleep in the temple.
Yes.
And they had it's kind of a funny story also. They had this incense factory. So whoever was grihasta, they had to make money.
Yes.
And so they have to work in the incense factory. But my husband, he didn't like that at all. He was in charge of the Sankirtan, and he was doing deity worship and doing all those things. And so I think he didn't work in this. But we had to live there was no, we didn't have money. Actually, even the money that you would make was for the temple.
Yeah.
It wasn't for us. I think we got 40 guilders a week to buy whatever, I don't know.
You need to,
if there was something, shampoo or toothpaste.
Of course, many things.
But, no, not many things, because you lived in the temple the whole day.
Yes.
So we just went there to sleep at night, and it was a room made of 4 cloths, madras, there were these Indian cloths. So one like this, one like that, one like this, and like this. And you could go in the room through one of the gaps of the curtain.
Wow.
And the size of the room was 2 sleeping bags. Okay. So we could sleep there, and there's a little tap, I think further on, that you take a shower there.
Wow.
And that was 10 o'clock, we go home on the bike, I remember. And I don't know, you're not allowed to touch your husband, right? Because that's seducing him. So I would sit on the bike and I hold the seat, because it's a little dangerous in Amsterdam, all this.
Wow.
So, and then we would sleep. And then I thought, oh no, what if I turn in the night? You go in your sleeping bag, and he's in his sleeping bag, you zip it up, and we sleep. I thought, oh, what if I turn around by accident, I would touch him. No, it didn't happen, so we were safe for some time.
This is a little bit crazy. It sounds, for me a little bit crazy.
But, and it suited me so well. It's funny, because even now, I'm attached to rules. Some I must have been from a previous also. My father was so strict, and he always had rules. And the other kids, they hated it. But I liked it. If he was eat, then he would say, you have to chew 100 times. It was something he read somewhere. And okay, I'm chewing 100 times. I liked it. I liked rules. Except, of course, when he told me to come home at 12 o'clock at night. Then that rule I didn't follow. But somehow, it just clicked into it, and I was quite fanatic. Even my husband had a bit of a difficulty with that.
Wow.
Because there was no affection then, of course. Anyway, little by little. Then we started living in a houseboat. There was 2 rooms in a houseboat. And the temple president was living there with his wife, and me with my husband. But there was also no running water, nothing, so we do everything in a temple.
Wow.
And then next was... they bought another building. They bought a building, and that was the Grihasta house.
Okay.
And then we all had our own room and shared bathroom. Okay. And no, there was hot water, but no, you couldn't use it because somebody would hear it. Right? They would hear that in the evenings we would take a warm shower then at that time. But in the morning, I remember there was somebody that was taking a warm shower. It was like really Maya.
Oh, gosh. And you didn't get cold or sick?
No, we're young. It's good for you, actually, cold showers.
Okay.
Actually, I mean, in yoga, they do this. Keeps you breathing, it keeps your heart going, everything. Okay. I remember, because you have to wait for the shower, it's a little bit of a trouble. And in our room, we had a flat roof. So we would just get a bucket and take a shower on the roof. It's quicker. And then we would go to the temple.
Wow.
For Mangalarti.
Amazing times.
Yeah. Yeah. And then a little bit after we moved here. And we start all over again. Because it was completely broken here in Bangladesh. And it could be in a whole other story.
Yes, for sure.
You asked Vasutama, did you
yes,
have already interview with him?
No.
Oh,
no.
Yeah, because he's good with that. Because he was right here and he helping to fix everything. Yeah. And we have lots of photos also.
We will make interview, but We'll see when the time is
yeah.
not so much.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much,
Yeah.
Mataji. It was a wonderful story for your time and for your sharing.
Yeah.
It was really inspiring for me, actually. And what times!
Yeah.
And okay, well, I have one question only. About Srila Prabhupada, did you meet him other times, or
Yeah.
do you have some other stories you can
Oh
share?
yeah, I could just
stories.
little because there's I met Srila Prabhupada first in Amsterdam, 72, then 74 in Schloss Rettershof, and then 76 we went to New Mayapur. Prabhupada visited New Mayapur,
Okay.
so we were there for the installation of Krishna Balaram. And one special story about that was that when Srila Prabhupada was bathing the deities, he was standing on the platform together with the deities, and they were all like that size. Prabhupada, same size as the deities.
Okay.
So they were already looking like three same transcendental personalities. And then Prabhupada, he bathed Lord Balaram with the conch shell, and then he had to bathe Krishna. But he didn't go on the other side. He leaned over, put his hand on Balaram's shoulder, and then he bathed Krishna like this.
Oh.
And then, Balaram, he has his hand on Krishna's shoulder. Yes. So Prabhupada had his hand on Balaram's, and Balaram had his hand, and it was looking so transcendental. And I know there's a picture, but I don't know where or what. I've only seen it once. There's a picture of that situation, the Prabhupada holding, and they really look like three cowherd boys. Beautiful. So that's something that's printed in my mind. There was another situation that there was also... klaar?
Yeah, okay.
Het is goed, we zijn klaar.
Okay.
We have to do the rest after.
We have to finish here, maybe.
Yeah, the whole group is coming in.
So, Hare Krishna again. We are changing the places because there was some group coming to visit the Gita room that we were in.
The changing bodies room.
Yes, we are changing rooms with the changing bodies room. So, Mataji, I'll put this here.
So where were we? Oh yeah, so Prabhupada installed Krishna Balaram at that time. I had my daughter, she was 5 months old, my first daughter at that time, 76. And then there was initiations also. So some of our devotees were getting initiated. And so one of the girls, she came to me, she said, oh, you are already initiated. How was it? How should I do? What should I do? So I said, well, I know exactly what to do because I watched it 50 times and Prabhupada was so strict. Yeah. So I said, you have to pay your dandavats diagonally, say the 4 regulative principles fully, chant minimum 16 good rounds. And but in those days, there was no more dandavats for girls.
Okay.
And that changed somewhere. I'd forgotten where, when, or how. But it was not done anymore. Oh, she said, I said, I'm sure. Because, Prabhupada wanted us all to do this. So I said, you must do it. It's supposed to be done like this. And then, so she was a little worried about it. And then, anyway, so she was called and she paid a full dandavats to Prabhupada. And then I looked, because I was sit behind, and I looked at Prabhupada, and he gave her a big smile. Oh. He had a big smile, and when she got up, Prabhupada was smiling at her. He was really, really pleased to see that.
So he wanted actually full dandavat for the girls.
Well, the thing is, I think when everyone started going to India, then we had to adopt more the Indian ways. Because there's also a story of Yamuna, how she was always sitting very close to Prabhupada when he was giving lecture and listening very eagerly and making notes. And then one of the devotees said to her, why you were sitting there? You have to sit next with the other women in the back. Yes. So she had gone and I thought, no, well, I guess so. Because that was in India. And then Prabhupada had teased her about it. Because he said next day, Yamuna, you don't like to hear me anymore? You don't like to listen to me anymore? And she started crying. Then she said, Prabhupada, I want to hear you all the time, but they told me I have to sit in the back. And then Prabhupada said, yes, actually, that is the custom here. So I think these other things also came like this. You know, that we had to adopt more the Indian customs.
Yeah, I understand.
But anyway, so that was very nice. Also, there's a picture of that with Prabhupada, big smile, and her pulled down the butts. It was very nice. So that was then. And then Prabhupada, another day, he went for a walk. And then he sat under the tree. And they put a little table in front of him, and he started giving the class, Bhagavad Gita class. But I had my daughter, and so she was making some noise every now and then. So I didn't sit. I would just walk away a little bit if she was making noise, and I would come back in if she was quiet. And at one point there was question and answers, and I didn't hear the question, but the question was something like this, like, Prabhupada, in the Guru Puja song, the Guru Vandanam prayers, you say that if you don't make it, the spiritual master is your spiritual master life after life. Right? You are my spiritual master life after life. So does that mean that if we don't make it this lifetime, then will you come back to save us? That was the question. And then Prabhupada looked, and he put his fist on the little table in front, like this. He said, you don't make me come back. Make it this lifetime. You make it this lifetime. Don't make me come back. And I just came back with my daughter, and I hear this. Don't make me come back. You make it this lifetime. And I thought, wow, this is my instruction. And then Prabhupada elaborated a little more. He said, I have given you everything for you to make it this lifetime. There's no reason why you shouldn't make it this lifetime. Everything is there. And that really hit me, so like a personal instruction.
Amazing.
So that was my experience from France. Then in 77, August 77, Srila Prabhupada visited from Vrindavan. You remember in the Lilamrita, Prabhupada decides to go another world tour while he was very, very sick. So he first went to England, and then he didn't go to the world tour because he was too sick, and he came back to Vrindavan. But my husband at that time, he had a cancer, which he had a cancer, so he was getting cancer treatment in England, and he told me to come. He said, Prabhupada is here, you should come, you can see Prabhupada. So I was there again, and that my one experience was that we were all sitting in the temple room, and Prabhupada, he would come in the palanquin, they would carry him past the deities like this, and he would greet the deities. He was wearing sunglasses, and he was very, very sick. And then they would carry him to the Vyasasan, and then we would leave him there on this palanquin, and we would do Guru Puja. So there was no darshan there was no class from Prabhupada, but there was darshan of Prabhupada. So the way we looked at the deities, also the way we would look at Prabhupada and have darshan of Srila Prabhupada. And I remember his feet were a bit swollen because the body wasn't functioning properly, but they looked like just so beautiful pink, soft baby feet. Wow. You know, the baby feet also a little bit chubby like that. Yes. And I was just meditating on his feet. And then one point we would just sit and chant kirtan. And then Prabhupada would have his hands on his lap like this, and he would put his thumbs up. And that meant he wanted us to dance. So we all jumped up and we danced and for Srila Prabhupada. Yes. At one point I was sitting looking at Prabhupada and meditating on his feet and looking at him, and I had my daughter on my lap. And she was also in the kirtan singing. She wanted to sing, and she was jumping a bit like that. And every time her face was in front of my face, her head in front of my face, so jumping and jumping. So at one point I took her by the arms a little bit, and I said, sit still, sit still. I want to see Prabhupada. So I was looking at Prabhupada, and Prabhupada looked me right in the eyes, very sternly.
Wow.
And with that message, this is not how you treat for your enjoyment, you don't force your child, treat your child like this. And so, I understood the message there. But it was very, like really personal, directly to me. Although the temple room was completely full. And then I thought later, I probably imagined it. But then when we came out in the hall, and even later when there was Vyasa Puja offerings describing that scene, that situation with the devotees in the kirtan and Prabhupada sitting, then every single devotee that was there felt that personal reciprocation with Prabhupada. So he wasn't just looking only one or only two, no. And in the hall also, Prabhupada was looking at me. Prabhupada was instructing me something. So Prabhupada, he knew, even in that condition that he was, to make contact with every single of his disciples.
Amazing.
It's very special. So that was the last time that I met Prabhupada. And then in November, 30th, because my husband had a cancer, we came home. They said he had to come back for treatment, and he said, it's not necessary. But we didn't realize, because in those days they don't say cancer. They said a tumor, because the word cancer was like taboo, that we don't talk about it.
Okay.
And they said, maybe you will not have more children, which, yeah. But then he was getting very sick, and he ended up hospital, and then he left his body just 2 weeks before Srila Prabhupada.
Wow.
On the 31st of October. So when, that was tough. My daughter was 1.5. But then I thought, okay, husbands is temporary, right? It's, bodily relationship. It's, you lose the husband. So I thought, but I have my spiritual master. So nothing can go wrong.
Wow.
And then 2 weeks after, Srila Prabhupada left.
It could have been so.
And that was, then my world went black. I thought, oh no, this is not possible. But yeah, somehow life goes on, and we keep going, because that is something we have to really realize more and more. The spiritual master is eternal. It's an eternal relationship. The Vaishnavas don't die. Prabhupada says, I will never leave you. I'm there in my books. So sometimes nowadays they talk about, you need a living spiritual master to chastise you or correct you. Actually, then what do we do? Because all the spiritual masters, now Prabhupada's disciples, are getting older. They will also leave the body. You have to find another living spiritual master? No, I don't know who you're initiated.
Devamrita Maharaj.
Oh, okay. He's
here present.
Yes. Okay. Because then also Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Bhakti Siddhanta.
Yeah, they live
They live to spread the holy name around. They are alive, and all the instructions are there. The problem is that we're not there, right? Because your living spiritual master can say whatever he wants. It's up to you to follow.
Yes.
So even then, if you have a living spiritual master, he's alive, your responsibility to follow his instructions. That makes a difference.
Yes.
And it's not the fact that the spiritual master is right there. Because even the devotees that were living with Srila Prabhupada, they also left, even while Prabhupada was alive. So that's not the problem. That the spiritual master is there, it's an eternal relationship, and you have to take responsibility for following him if you want to join him wherever he has gone, back to Godhead. Because that's the only way we're going to go back to Godhead, is through the spiritual master, right?
Yes.
And Prabhupada has said that he will be there, and he will take us by the hand and introduce us when we go back to Godhead.
Yeah. Amazing.
And he said, you will be surprised. Because only one devotee asked, so Srila Prabhupada, will we recognize you in the spiritual world when we get there? And Prabhupada said, yes, I come in my form, the one you recognize me, and then I'll show you my eternal form. And you will be surprised.
Oh, wow.
So they're still awaiting. The real life is to and join our spiritual master,
Amazing.
who is with Srila Prabhupada, and all the, and then wherever they are serving, we can join them also. Somebody said, "Oh, well, Prabhupada, we don't want to go back to Godhead. We want to serve where you are." Oh, Prabhupada said, "Very nice. I'm going to Patala Loka next after this." or another one that's very nice, right? But Prabhupada, "I want to always serve you, always serve you." And Prabhupada said, "Stay at your lotus feet." He said, "Well, you have to be fast because my lotus feet are always moving."
Amazing, Prabhupada.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So yeah, the fact that we are under the care of our spiritual master, that's a safeguard as long as we decide to take the responsibility to follow his instructions. And that's up to us. We have to do something. Already we're mercy cases, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, Prabhupada said he created our piety, right? It's not because of our good karma that we came to Krishna consciousness. It's really by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada
I feel like
and
that.
his disciples. Yeah, isn't it?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I don't feel like so pious or something from previous life. It's just the mercy of the devotees and Prabhupada.
Yeah, and we have to associate.
Yeah.
Take, and I don't know, I liked what Bhagavad Dharma yesterday was saying. When you choose a partner, as husband or wife, you have to look what their behavior is.
Oh, yes.
Remember, you say if he has a good sadhana, that's the most important.
Yes.
He doesn't have to look beautiful or whatever. That's not so important. But he has a good sadhana. He's following his spiritual master. Then you're safe. That's it's nice, right?
Thank you, Mataji. It was
Keep
amazing.
me talking, then I can talk forever.
We will have another interviews. Also, I have ideas.
Okay, nice.
Talk.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Okay, but it's so nice to have you. Turn it off.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.